Here's the recap of the first season of Monarch Legacy of Monsters. In this series, we are constantly thrown around in time, so to make it clearer, I will tell you the whole plot in chronological order. In 1952, a United States Army officer named Lee Shaw is sent to the Philippines to guard a scientist named Kiko, who has discovered an unusual spike in radiation. He doesn't really understand what exactly the woman is doing, but soon they accidentally meet another scientist named Bill, who has come here in search of a dragon. The man tells them that there is a certain path in the legends, and it was on this route that the creature was spotted. Kiko realizes that this path coincides with the traces of radiation she discovered. After a while, they find a warship that could not possibly be here. And soon they are attacked by a huge flying monster, but the main characters manage to escape. The trio realizes that they have encountered a new species of creature, and there are likely more than one. They name them Titans and create an organization called Monarch. 2 years later, the protagonists present their discovery to the generals of the United States Army, and they begin to sponsor the organization. Scientists want to study the Titans and understand how to coexist with them in the same world, and the military wants to destroy them. Kiko and Bill are not happy about this, but they can't do anything about it. In the end, with their joint efforts, they lure out a Titan, and it turns out to be Godzilla. The military detonates an atomic bomb and believes that the monster is destroyed. Afterwards, the three protagonists agree that they will be careful to share information with the army. After a year, the main characters stalled with the research, and the military intends to stop funding, thinking that there are no more Titans. However, Bill believes that under the ground there is a network of tunnels where the monsters live. This is how the giant creatures have no problem hiding from humans. By this time, Lee Shaw falls in love with Kiko, but this interferes with their work. Soon the trio contacts a scientist who creates a device capable of luring the Titans. They activate it. Suddenly Godzilla appears, and the protagonists realize that he is not dead from mankind's most powerful weapon. Lee Shaw reports this to the general and funding resumes. We also learn that Kiko has a son named Hiroshi, who she has been hiding from everyone because she is a Japanese citizen and the government of the United States didn't trust her very much as it is. Bill eventually marries the protagonist and adopts the boy. A year later, the trio of main characters goes to Kazakhstan, to an abandoned nuclear power plant. According to their calculations, there should be an entrance to the monster world that Bill was talking about. Surprisingly, they find no radiation at the site, but under the ground they find a brood of MUTOs, which consumes it. Once down there, an earthquake occurs and Kiko falls into the rupture along with the monsters. The men then presume her dead. In 1962, Bill and his scientists find a wormhole tunnel in America. It is supposed to be a teleport to some space where huge monsters live. However, it only activates when a Titan approaches it. The scientists are assembling a capsule and a device that should lure the monster from the other side. Lee Shaw and 3 other people are to go on the expedition. At first, everything goes well, but when the capsule falls into the teleporter, there is an explosion and the portal closes forever. Bill tries to figure out what happened, but years later still doesn't know the cause. In 1973, as we know from the movie Kong Skull Island, Bill dies but manages to send the Monarch's secret documents, which eventually get to Hiroshi, Kiko's son. Lee Shaw regains consciousness in a hospital and is locked in a special dome. Soon he tries to escape and meets the grown-up Hiroshi, Kiko's son. It turns out that 20 years have passed and the protagonist can't understand how this could happen. He tells that the expedition team has fallen into a strange world, where huge creatures live and the laws of physics work differently. This is not a hollow Earth, which we saw in the movies, but something in between, and maybe in another dimension. The team spent about 7 days there and all but the main character died. Then Lee Shaw was accidentally sucked into a portal and ended up here. The Monarch does not believe in the story of the man, so he is sent to a special sanatorium and is considered crazy. As we know, in 2014, there was a battle between Godzilla and the MUTOs in San Francisco. During the battle, thousands of people died and their homes were destroyed. School teacher Cate, along with her students at the time, evacuated over a bridge and got caught in the middle of the battle. The bus with the children fell into the water and she survived. Arriving at the evacuation camp, her father, Hiroshi, Kiko's son, informs his daughter that he urgently needs to leave the country, and soon she learns that her father's plane has crashed. The girl goes to Japan, as there he had an apartment with an office, and she decided to settle all the paperwork. Arriving there, she discovers that Hiroshi had a second family on the side, and learns that she has a half-brother named Kentaro. Together, they go to Hiroshi's office and find some old documents from the Monarch organization. The teens don't know what it is and ask Kentaro's friend named Mei for help. The girl is not a bad hacker, so she can easily decipher the data, but there are so many of them that the protagonists can't understand what they have found at all. At that moment, Monarch receives a signal that their organization's documents have been exposed online. Tim, an ordinary employee, decides to figure out what's going on, and together with his colleague, Operative Duval, goes to Japan. They try to capture the teenagers, although they do not wish them harm. But everything goes wrong, and the protagonists manage to escape. Kentaro also finds a booklet in his father's office with a certain guest house for old people and the name Lee Shaw. The teens head there, where they discover an aged officer. After finding out who they are and what they are in for, the man helps them escape. Afterwards, together they realize that Cate and Kentaro's father may still be alive. With the help of Hiroshi's notes, they realize where to look for him and head to Alaska. Arriving at the place, the main characters discover the destroyed plane of their father. However, they soon realize that he did not die in the crash, as there is a tent nearby. Suddenly, another Titan emerges from under the snow, which is able to absorb any heat, freezing everything around it. The protagonists manage to escape, but in doing so, they lose their airplane. They decide to find the nearest settlement, and Kentaro gets separated from the group. The guy finds an old abandoned research station and traces that his father was here. There he contacts Monarch, who have already noticed an unusual radiation spike in Alaska, after which the organization rescues all the main characters. The group is put behind bars, and Duval informs Mei that they know who she really is. It turns out that the girl used to work for Apex Cybernetics Corporation, which we first heard about in the movie Godzilla vs. King Kong. Mei considered their activities unethical and encrypted all the data. She then fled to Japan and changed her name as Apex started looking for her. Meanwhile, the teens think they are about to be killed, but the Monarchs are not villains and soon let them go. Meanwhile, Lee Shaw is kept, and they try to figure out how the kids, along with Old Man, who has been in a nursing home for 30 years, were able to discover the Titan. The old man says he knows a lot more, but Monarch has never listened to him and thinks he's crazy. Meanwhile, Duval and some other operatives in the organization don't agree with the way their superiors react to the threats. They release Lee Shaw, and he proposes a plan to take down the Titans once and for all. Meanwhile, the teenagers decide to continue their search for their father and go to San Francisco. There in the ruined city is Hiroshi's office, but the passage there is forbidden and violators are shot on the spot. The main characters, with the help of Cate's mom and her friend, sneak in. In the office, the teenagers find an unusual map, and from it, they realize that Hiroshi most likely went to Africa in search of another Titan. Back at home, they are met by Lee Shaw and Duval. They offer their help in finding Hiroshi and then head off to Africa together. Meanwhile, Tim and a Monarch deputy director named Natalia Verdugo try to figure out what Lee Shaw and the teens are up to. They find Hiroshi's office and guess where exactly they should look for the main characters. Lee shows up with the children in Africa and finds the place indicated on Hiroshi's map. There they see their father in the distance, but he panics and yells at them to get out as soon as possible. It turns out the man has activated a bait for the Titans, and in a moment a huge monster awakens, Godzilla himself. Hiroshi escapes, and we see that Tim has also flown in with a team of operatives. His helicopter crashes, but the man survives. The main characters also manage to escape, but the teens are upset that their father has once again abandoned them. Lee Shaw offers them to solve the Titans' problem once and for all, as he has a plan. The kids refuse, and he takes Hiroshi's map from them. Arriving at the airport, the teenagers learn that Mei has been kidnapped by some people. They contact Tim and ask him to help them find their friend. It turns out that she was taken by people from Apex Corporation. Its CEO Brenda blackmails Mei and wants to force the girl to spy on Monarch, but she refuses. At that moment, Cate asks Verdugo, Monarch's deputy director, to help her free her friend, and in exchange the protagonist will help them find Li Shaw, as he is up to something not so good. Eventually May is freed, and the protagonists go in search of the old man. Verdugo makes an appeal, because of which the public finally learns about the existence of the Monarch organization. Meanwhile, Li Shaw and his new team arrive in Alaska. They capture the Monarch base and take all the equipment from it. Then they find a portal next to a heating titan. They blow up the teleporter, causing the other wormholes on the planet to start emitting more and more radiation. The Monarch sees this and realizes that dozens of huge monsters could come to our world if the old man isn't stopped. Digging through old documents, the protagonists guess that Li Shaw is going to Kazakhstan, to the same nuclear power plant where Kiko died. Eventually, the teens find him and ask him to stop, but he refuses and blows up the portal. However, the explosion causes the old man, Cate and May, to fall into the wormhole. Kentaro, Tim, and Hiroshi, who has appeared, realize that Monarch will not help them get the protagonist out of there. They decide to take their only opportunity and contact Apex Cybernetics Corporation. Meanwhile, the rest of the characters find themselves in the Between Worlds. Li Shaw tells them that time flows differently here, and they need to get out of here. Suddenly, they meet Kiko, who has only been here for 57 days. Together, they find Li Shaw's old capsule and use the bait to summon Titan, thus activating the portal. Godzilla and a flying dragon appear. They begin to fight, and in the chaos that ensues, Li Shaw sacrifices himself so that the others can be saved. The capsule is thrown to the surface, where the Apex Corporation has been waiting for them for 2 years. Cate, Kentaro, Hiroshi, and even Kiko are finally reunited. However, suddenly a siren sounds and the main characters are ordered to hide. They are on Skull Island, and at this point King Kong goes on a big rampage. This is the end of the first season. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and click the like button. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.